Hello everybody, this is Zygon Kanar from GenDpad, and today's review's on Atlus's Persona 4. Now before we begin, it's worth noting that this game is part of the Shin Megami Tensei series. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, it's a pretty popular Japanese series. It's very well known for having high difficulty and dark psychological storylines. Persona 4 is no exception to this pattern, offering a deep look into human nature. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started by covering the story. The game starts out with the protagonist, and though you can rename him whatever you want, his official name is Soji Seta. Soji is arriving to the small town of Inaba to live with his uncle for a year while his parents are working overseas. Within days of his arrival, a journalist is found dead on a television antenna. Meanwhile, during school, Soji and his new friends, who I'll get into later, start hearing rumors about if you watch TV on rainy midnights, it will reveal a person's soulmate. Though this rumor is half false, the teens do see a blurry picture appear, and when Soji touches the TV, his hand goes right through it. After some lengthy events, Soji realizes that he can enter the TV, and that there's another world on the other side. On the other side, the characters encounter evil beings called Shadows, and a mysterious bear named Teddy. Since the game did such a good job with the out-of-dungeon events anyway, I have to give this part of the gameplay a 7 out of 10. And this is where we start really to get a good look at the theme of the game. That people can better themselves by facing and accepting who they are so that they can change. The characters literally fight themselves, accept themselves, and lock the power of Persona. The students find out that the Midnight Channel is related to the deaths, and that the victims are thrown into the TV world and only they can save them. As they venture deeper into the mystery, they find new friends and hidden truths as they unlock the case. That's about all I could tell you without too many spoilers, but let me tell you that this story is absolutely awesome. For anyone who had complaints about Persona 3 moving slowly, they fixed that in this game for sure. There's many more events, it's much more fast-paced, and there's so many twists, turns, and surprises, it keeps making you want to play more. So without a doubt in my mind, I'm going to give this story a 10 out of 10. Next, let's cover the main characters of the game. Besides the main character, there are a wide range of different characters in the game, from an ex-teen idol to an ace detective. Though that might sound pretty ridiculous as far as realism goes, this cast of characters is actually the most realistic character cast I've had from any Persona game. They all have their own problems and personal issues, making them all very human and a big part of the overlying theme. Yosuke is vocal and provides the much needed comic relief throughout the game, but he's haunted by the fact that his father's megastore, Juness, is ruining the town stores in the shopping center. Chie is an upbeat, happy-go-lucky girl that is in love with kung fu movies. She's very protective of her friends and things she believes in, and is not afraid to fight for them. Yukiko is a shy girl whose family is the owner of the local inn. She spends a lot of the time helping out her family, and she's expected to take over the business. She's very friendly when she starts to open up, but hates that her fate is being chosen for her. Though there are more characters, I think those would be better left hidden. Trust me though when I say that they get better and better and that the character designs are very well done. Over time you'll find yourself falling in love with each of the characters. For a score, it would feel like stealing to give these character designs as a whole anything less than a 10 out of 10. For those of you who don't know, Persona 4 has a lot of different aspects as far as gameplay goes. The main game is divided into two different styles of gameplay. You're either exploring dungeons, getting infusing personas, and saving people and advancing the plot, or you're doing social links and events outside back at the school investigating and figuring out your next move. Overall, the pacing of these two switching off is much better in this game compared to the previous Persona game. Let's go ahead and go into each one in depth a little bit. Now, if it isn't obvious by now, this is a dungeon crawling RPG. You take your personas, gather your team members, explore each floor, collect loot, and fight shadows. Unlike most dungeon crawling games, in this game each floor is not randomly generated, and unlike the previous game, there are many different dungeons with many different themes, all based around the person you're trying to rescue. Each dungeon is short, and each is absolutely beautifully designed. Here's a little clip to show you what I mean. This fixed the biggest problem for me in Persona 3, where for the entire game, you were exploring the same 250 floor dungeon, and there is hardly any change to the layout or music. Overall, the concept is fun, and Atlus fixed the problems of Persona 3, and it feels a lot less like a chore to push through to the plot. The other side of the gameplay is a little shakier. If you've ever played a simulation dating game, it's kinda like that. Overall, it's not a horrible experience, but the whole social links aspect is kind of pain sometimes. The problem seems so forced that it's hard to care too much. Overall, everything else really makes up for these social link events. I mean, sure, they feel kind of corny, but everything else just kind of fits it all together, and it's still a really fun experience. So overall, I'm going to give gameplay a 9 out of 10. Last but not least is the game's replayability. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a great game in a lot of ways, but unfortunately, unless you're a hardcore SMT or Persona fan, there's not much giving you a reason to play this game again. I mean, there is New Game Plus, and there is multiple endings. However, New Game Plus doesn't do that much, and the multiple endings don't really change that much of the story anyway. 60 to 70 hours are still exactly the same. So overall, I'm going to give the game a 7 out of 10. Mainly because it's a great game to experience, but besides that, there's really not that much change happening. So let's look at all these things together. For our story and characters, we have a 10 out of 10. For gameplay, we have a 9 out of 10, and then for replayability, we have a 7 out of 10. So overall, I'm going to have to give this game a 9 out of 10. In a lot of people's hearts, this game does deserve a 10 out of 10. However, overall, there are a lot of people who probably won't like this game just because they don't like RPGs, or they're impatient, or they really don't like the characters or Japanese stuff in general. It's a very Japanese game. However, it is a great game, and if you're an RPG fan, or if you're a dungeon crawling fan, or even if you're a psychological or mystery fan, this game is definitely worth checking out. So this has been Zygon Kanar with your in-depth review on Atlus's Persona 4. If you liked this video, go ahead and comment, hit like, and if you have any suggestions for what I should review next, go ahead and leave those in the comments as well. So this has been Zygon Kanar from GenDpad signing off. Thanks for watching.
You won!
Too weak to fight me!
Shall we move on?
Let's go!
That was easy.